Well, everyone, welcome back. We're going to be doing another battery comparison, and I just did it already on my iPhone 8. And basically, what I did was obviously I'm installed on iOS 14 here, and I have two iPhone 8s. One was on iOS 13, one was on iOS 14, and I put them right next to each other. And I wanted to see which one would have the better battery life. You guys already know that's common sense. That's usually how battery tests work. And so what I did was I put the brightness at full maximum capacity, and then from there I let them die out. I used them, I opened apps, I ran Geekbench scores even, and at the end of it, I was honestly pretty shocked because almost every single one of my devices, iOS 14 seemed to be getting better battery life, but on this one it was actually the opposite. But there is a pretty big caveat to it, which I'll explain in a second. Now here's the thing, okay, so I ran the Geekbench score right in the beginning of it, and about 21 minutes in, I saw that on iOS 13 I had 95% left of my battery, and iOS 14 I was on 94%. So pretty, normal thing. I was like, okay, it's not that probably that big of a deal. And then about 47 minutes in, I waited some extra time. I saw that, I checked back, and I saw that on iOS 13 I had about 85% left. On iOS 14 I was on 81%. So again, not a ginormous difference, but still, I was seeing some bigger differences between these than the first time that I checked on them. So I was like, okay, great. Like, okay, but iOS 14 is probably going to end, which it did, honestly, at the end of it. I checked back in an hour and nothing really changed. They both went down about 76% to 71%, iOS 14 being on 71, iOS 13 being on 76. And I was like, okay, this is great. Like, they're both going down actually a lot faster than I was expecting them to go down at that point. And then I let them sit down. I use them, a little bit. I just open some apps. I play Paper.io. I play Real Racing 3, things like that, just to get the batteries to die out. And I play them on both just to make them die as soon as possible because I didn't want to spend 4 hours doing this, which I ended up doing. And about an hour and 59 minutes in, I checked back in on both of them, and iOS 13 was on 56%, and iOS 14 was on 48%. So again, we're seeing bigger differences go as the batteries get lower and lower. In the beginning, if you remember, 95% was on iOS 13, and on iOS 14 we were on 94%. So again, we're getting lower and lower in the scores. Now I let them sit out. I checked back in about 2 hours and 45 minutes in, and iOS 13 had 40%, iOS 14 was on 27%. So again, bigger differences. I was expecting it to be this way for the whole entire time, which it was. I checked back in about 3 hours and 11 minutes in, iOS 13 was on 31%, iOS 14 was on 18%, and then I'd finally checked back in on 3 hours and 48 minutes. I saw that iOS 13 was on 20% and iOS 14 was on 5%. And that's where I ended the comparison. I was kind of tired and I went away for a while and I came back and both phones died. So I didn't know exactly what time they both died at. But what I can tell you here is that at the end of it, most probably iOS 14 did have worse battery life than iOS 13 on this specific phone. On my other phones, like my iPhone 6s and iPhone 7, I actually had better battery life on these two phones than on iOS 13, but on my iPhone 8 it actually went down. Now there is a very, very important thing to keep in mind. My battery life on my iOS 14 device was actually less than my iPhone that was running iOS 13. And to give you an example, I went ahead and went to battery, and within battery health you can see I'm on 90%. My iPhone 8 running iOS 13 was around 96%. So I actually had better battery health on my iOS 13 device. Did it mean this big of a difference? At the end of it, 20% on iOS 13, 5% on iOS 14? Probably not. There might have been, a few percentage differences for sure, but that big of a difference, I don't know. So definitely in my core, I want to say iOS 13 does probably have better battery life for now than iOS 14, but that doesn't mean it's going to be always the case. I'm sure when iOS 14 officially comes out, it's probably end up going to be better in my opinion. So that's really pretty much it. At the end of it, iOS 13 does have better battery life for now, but it doesn't mean it'll always have better battery life. So if you guys have any questions or anything like that, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that means so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys could hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my main channel. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.